It's the start of a new academic year, so today I want to talk to you guys about the tools that you need to succeed at uni in 2025-26. I've got a bunch of different ideas for you, and yes, I'm going to be talking about AI, using AI at uni, including using the Consensus academic research tools, who are the sponsors of today's video. The seasons have changed. There is a huge storm raging outside. You can probably hear it in your headphones. And that must mean it's time for a new academic year. Start of term, a whole bunch of new students, and loads of people are thinking about, what do I need to succeed at uni? Okay, I've been doing this like 2 decades now, so I'm going to be telling you what you need, the tools that you need to do really well at uni. So I think the big question on everyone's minds is about AI. What can I use? What can't I use? Should I use AI at all? I am definitely going to be talking about all of that. But first, I've got a few other more traditional tools that you definitely want to use to help you succeed at uni. And then we'll get on to talking about AI. Okay, so tool number 1, your lectures, the most traditional tool of all. Okay, so it might be a bit weird that I'm saying your lectures are a tool, but that's kind of the way I think about them, because now at university, you've got options. Most university lecturers will video record their lectures. At my uni, you have to record them, you make them available to students. And basically that means as a student, you've got options, right? A lot of people think, yeah, maybe I won't go to the lecture. I'll stay in my room. I'll watch the video there. And that'll basically be the same thing. And it's more efficient. I've had lots of students say it's more efficient to just watch the videos than walk around campus going to all the lectures. Okay, here's my view. That is a really, really bad idea. Lectures, being in the lecture hall while the lecture is being given, while the lecturer is giving the lecture, okay, that is a really important tool. Being there in person helps you do well at uni. And there's basically a whole bunch of reasons for that. But here's my experience, okay. During COVID, a couple of years back, we had to move all of our lectures online, okay. So nobody went to in-person lectures. Everything was recorded, either synchronous, asynchronous, so either I would give a live, Teams lecture, or I would record it, put it up on the internet, people would watch it. It was basically a disaster. And I think the reason is, as a student, as a viewer, it is so hard to engage with that kind of material in an intellectual way. You can't do it in the same way as when you are in the room, okay? You're in the room, you are watching this person kind of, their ideas evolve as they are giving the lecture. Maybe you're asking questions or seeing other people ask questions. Being in the room helps so much. On top of that, there is the psychological factor that, you say you're going to watch this video. Yeah, maybe I'll watch it now. Maybe I'll watch it later. Oh, you know what? I'll just watch them all at the end of the course. As soon as I've got to write my essay, I'll watch all the videos and write the essay. And then it comes to it and you're late and there isn't time to watch them. And it just doesn't work. On top of that, often when you are recording a lecture, there's a camera right at the back of the room and I've got a microphone on. It's not great content, right? I'm not giving the lecture to camera like I am, on the YouTube videos. The quality of the recordings when we record lectures is not great. Okay, so those lecture recordings, they're good as a backup, right? If you remember that you heard something in a lecture and you just want to go and check it, yeah, great, that's what the videos are for. They're not a substitute for the in-person lectures. So tool number 1, be in your lectures. That will be a big, big help. I've been teaching at university 20 odd years, and I can say for definite, the students who turn up regularly for lectures on average, just do a lot better at uni. Just jumping in here to say, if you're enjoying the video so far, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to help me out, buy me a coffee over on Ko-Fi or consider becoming a monthly subscriber. Tool number 2, your lecturers. Okay, so on top of going to lectures, you've also got access to your lecturers, the academic staff, including your personal tutors. So this might work, differently at different universities. At Nottingham, where I teach, Every member of teaching staff has 2 office hours per week, okay? That just means you just roll up at their office at the set time, don't need to make an appointment, you just go in. You can have a chat about whatever you want to whoever you want, okay? It doesn't have to be your lecturer, it can be your personal tutor, it can just be somebody that you get on with in the department. And basically the way that you build up academic confidence to develop your ideas, to kind of think of yourself not just as a student, but as a researcher, as a kind of an intellectual writer, well, you do that by talking to people who know what they're talking about. So you go and talk to your personal tutor, you go and talk to your lecturers, other members of academic staff, not all the time, but I would recommend doing that at least once a week on top of your lectures. You develop as a thinker, as an academic, so much by having these conversations. So you might go and talk when you've got an issue, like I'm struggling with my essay, or you might go when you've got a particular idea for your essay, like, I'm writing this essay for your module. Should I go this way or that way? But it doesn't have to be that. You might just have an idea, right? You've come up with a nice idea through your lectures, through reading. It's not really related to your essays, but you just want to talk it through. That's what academic staff are there for. And believe it or not, if somebody has made their career out of teaching and researching philosophy or history or whatever, they like discussing that stuff, right? If somebody comes to me, knocks on my door and says, I'm not on your module, but I just had this idea about, metaphysics, something that you're interested in. Could we talk about it? Yeah, of course. I'm not there just to give you lectures, mark your essays and give you a grade. Really what I want to do with my philosophy students, with any philosophy students, is talk philosophy. And the lectures and the essays and the grades, they're all just kind of part of that system to facilitate it. But talking about the ideas, that's something we all want to do. And I would really recommend that you do that, once a week, once every other week with a member of staff. Students who do that regularly, again, get on so much better at uni. They get better grades, but it's not just about getting better grades. Those students who turn up regularly and talk to staff, my view is they feel so much more part of the intellectual community of the university. They feel more at home there. And really, that's part of what it's all about. Okay, so there you've got a bunch of traditional tools. Out of those, I think your lectures and your lecturers are the most important ones. So let's get on to the new stuff, AI. Should you be using AI and how should you be using it? Well, yeah, of course you should be using AI. Really, if you go to university 2025 and you're not learning how to use AI as part of your research, as part of your work, you've missed out. But there's a right way and a wrong way to use AI at universities. Okay, let me explain. In fact, there's a couple of right ways that I think you should be using AI. Okay. First up, you've got AI writing tools, which you should be using. So for years now, we've been encouraging students to improve their writing using writing tools. Okay. So spell checks, grammar checks, that kind of stuff. And basically AI is doing that for you now. It can proofread your work and suggest improvements. And this is something you should definitely do. In fact, one of my colleagues has basically said, it's now so easy to write well because you write and then you ask the AI to check the grammar, to check the tone. Are you writing too formally or too informally? Are you writing precisely enough? Do you have the right tone for academic writing? If you're not doing that, if you're not using the tools, then you're not really up to the standard because in a way, AI has moved the standard upwards. Before, when you were writing on paper, right, spelling and grammar mistakes were kind of, slightly acceptable. As soon as you're writing in Word or electronically and you've got spell checkers, there's no excuse for bad spelling because the computer can just correct it for you. And now with the AI, there's no excuse for having the wrong kind of tone, for clunky writing, for badly constructed sentences, for essays that aren't structured properly, okay? If you're making those mistakes, That's because you're not using the right tools. So, a couple of ways of doing this. If you're writing in Word on the Mac or whatever, you've got writing tools, AI writing tools built in. You just select the thing that you want to get a bit of advice on, okay? And get the advice. You don't have to let it change it for you. You can just get some suggestions and then you make the changes or you can take your writing you've already done, your essay or whatever, put it into ChatGPT or something like that and just ask for suggestions about how could I improve the structure, the tone? Is it the right kind of style for academic writing? Okay, second way of using AI that I definitely think you should be doing. Using AI like ChatGPT as a tutor, okay? So this is something that I know a lot of students do already and it's really, really important. So often when you're learning a new subject, a new concept, there are going to be a whole bunch of ideas, concepts that you don't understand. Maybe you just don't get what this concept is all about. Or maybe you do, but you don't get how it fits in with all the other concepts, okay? Ideally, what you'd have is a textbook that just tells you exactly all those answers in a way that you can understand. But textbooks aren't always written like that. Or you would go and talk to your tutor, but maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that, or they're not available right that very second. So that's when you go to the AI, okay? You just go into ChatGPT and say, I don't know, tell me in mathematics what a ring is, okay? And it's going to give you an explanation. If you don't understand the explanation, you ask it to explain it in a different way. Learning how to give the AI good prompts, asking the right questions, help me understand this concept in a way that I'm going to understand it. That is a really important skill to learn because then you've basically got this tutor who knows pretty much everything there is to know for your undergraduate degree on tap 24/7. Third way you should be using AI, and that is to help you do your academic research. Now, this is where today's sponsor comes in. Consensus Academic Research is a really powerful AI tool. It's like a search engine that when you query it about whatever it is you're trying to research, whatever it is you're trying to study, it will find you the most relevant, the most useful papers, resources out there on the internet. But not just any old thing, web pages and blog posts. It's looking at high quality published scientific literature. So the important thing here, as opposed to just doing like a Google search or whatever that will just get you kind of random results, the consensus engine, you're looking at high quality academic stuff that you can then trust, you can filter it, you can go and read that stuff, put it in your essay. So if you're just starting off with Consensus, go to the Consensus homepage. The first thing I suggest you do is you can link your university to Consensus. So I go to the preferences page, I'm going to type in Nottingham, I'm going to find University of Nottingham. So that's going to link my Consensus account to my university account. And what that allows me to do is when I find some references, some papers in Consensus, it will take me to the University of Nottingham sign-in so I can click straight through to those papers. This is super, super useful because often when you're looking for papers online, you have to sign in for each individual one and it's just a pain. Once you've linked your university account to your Consensus account, it basically takes all of that hassle out. You just go straight to the paper. It makes things very smooth. Okay, so suppose I'm doing an essay or a bit of research on inquisitive semantics. I'm not really sure what that is at the moment, let's suppose. So I type in what is inquisitive semantics to the Consensus search bar. Hit go. I'm using the pro version here. It thinks for a minute. It finds a bunch of papers. Okay. These are the ones it thinks that it's going to be the most relevant. These are high quality published academic papers in high quality venues. It's giving me a summary of what inquisitive semantics is, the core concepts, a bit about how it works. And then we've got a bunch of citations corresponding to different features of inquisitive semantics here. So I can click on any of these and it will take me to the paper, to a PDF, hopefully. One thing I can do here is I can ask a follow-up. So suppose I'm not just interested in inquisitive semantics in general, but I'm interested in its application. So this is one of the suggested follow-ups here. What are the applications of inquisitive semantics? So now it's kind of searching in a bit more detail specifically on that. Applications of inquisitive semantics, we've got stuff in linguistics, stuff in question semantics, stuff in education, pragmatics. Okay, this is really nice stuff. So I knew it was all related to pragmatics and semantics, didn't know about this stuff in education and cross-disciplinary use. So I can follow up any particular one of those I want to. I can look at some particular papers. I've hovered over this paper here, over this citation, and I can see next to the PDF here, there is a little University of Nottingham logo. That's because I've linked my consensus account to my Nottingham account. So if I click on this one now, it should take me to the login page. I've already logged in, so it's going to take me directly to the PDF. So this would be a PDF that will be behind a paywall, perhaps. You couldn't just open access this, but because I've signed in through my university account, I can go straight to that PDF. This makes looking through lots of papers super, super quick and efficient. Okay, so this is kind of standard consensus, but there's a new feature they've added recently called Deep Search. And what this will do is, rather than just giving you this kind of overview, it will do an extensive literature review of, I think it's like 50 papers. It will give you a summary of what's happening in those papers and how they link together. So I can do that by clicking here on Get a Lit Review of Inquisitive Semantics Applications. Now, this is going to take a little time for it to process. Okay, this took me about 2 minutes. I think, for it to go through all of the things, the search strategy. It's going to look through thousands of papers and out of all of those decide which are the 50 most relevant for this literature review. Okay, so it's, what's it doing? Mapping domains, rephrasing terminology, contrasting it with other approaches, looking at some interdisciplinary stuff, foundational work. It's going to do a citation graph. Okay, so once I've let that process long enough, here is my literature review. So I've got an introductory paragraph just telling me, with references, that's really nice, what inquisitive semantics is, what its applications are. I've got the relevant references there. Okay, we've got a little bit about method here. So this is how consensus came up with this literature review. If that's something you're interested in, you might just be happy just to trust it. Okay, here's the results of the review. So applications of inquisitive semantics in linguistics, dialogue modeling, logical foundations. Yeah, all very nice. Here are the references for that. Okay, so that's still processing a bit. Okay, so here we've got a bit about the key papers. This looks really solid to me because I know this research area, so I know that these are in fact the key papers. So it's found the right kind of papers, the right authors, and it's done a pretty good job of that. It's got here the key authors. Yeah, these are basically the guys who developed inquisitive semantics. So it's got exactly the right answers there. Okay, we've got a bit of discussion here and some kind of claims that it's found in the literature. And these little meters here basically indicate how well supported it thinks each of those claims are based on the literature it's found. Here's a nice feature if you're doing some research on this sort of stuff. It's looking at a map of which areas here have been already researched and which have a bit of a gap there. Okay, so for instance, if we're looking at educational interventions linked to computational linguistics, there's a gap in the research there. You know, not surprising because I'm not sure how you'd put those things together, but it's identified a gap in the research. So if you are a researcher looking for something new, a gap in the research, that's something that maybe you can look at. Scroll down to the bottom. Here are all the papers that it's selected for the literature review. I think there's loads of them. There's 50 of them, I think. So that's the 50 that it picked as the most important ones out of a couple of thousand that it got just by searching. Okay, so if you were Googling, you'd get all of those 1,000 that you have to search through. This is kind of doing a lot of that legwork for you. When I checked my emails later, I realized that Consensus had automatically emailed the report over to me. Didn't realize it did that, but that's kind of nice. It's saved there for later. But once I've got my literature review, I can save it. I can put it in my favorites or create a list if I'm doing a whole bunch of things on one topic. So I can export it. I can keep it private or make it public. I can get a link. If I've got research collaborators, I can send it to them. If I'm having any trouble with this stuff, there's a help bar in the corner here. I can pop that up so it can tell me all about how to use deep search. I can type in help questions here. It's AI, so it's going to help me out pretty good with how the system works. Yeah, I found that a really kind of smooth process. It's easy to use, and the literature report, I think, is really, really high quality in this case. I found these tools really, really useful in my research, because there's stuff that I don't know about. My time is really limited. Basically, sometimes I just want an expert to tell me, give me a really brief summary of, this topic and give me the top 5 papers, the top 5 authors. Using Consensus, I've just got it at my fingertips. Export the PDF, I can save it for later. Like most of these tools, there is a free version that you can use. There is an upgraded paid version, and there should be a code for that down in the description. Okay, so there are 3 ways I think that you should be using AI if you're starting uni 2025. What about the ways that you shouldn't be using AI? Well, pretty obviously, you shouldn't be using it to write your essays, assuming that your university has said, don't get AI to write your essays. So, if you're in the humanities and your assessments are based around writing essays, they have to be your essays. If you get a different person, including AI, to write your essay, essentially it's cheating, okay? Now, when I said you shouldn't do this, maybe that's because you think, if you do it, you're going to get caught. That's not really what I mean. So let me just, let me be honest here, right? I mark an awful lot of university essays, and over the last couple of years, I've seen more and more of them be written by AI, parts of them or the whole thing. So I reckon I can tell pretty easily whether something was written by AI or not, because, there's a certain way that 18, 19-year-olds tend to write, and there's a way that AI tends to write, and they're not the same. I'm pretty sure I know which essays were written by AI. However, that's not to say that you're going to get a penalty on that essay, because most universities will say, okay, if you're going to get a 0 or a penalty on your essay, there has to be good evidence that you haven't written it. And that is pretty tricky when AI is involved, because the AI will write a different essay every time. So it's not easy for me to prove, or for any marker to prove that you haven't written this essay. I reckon most people who, cheat and get AI to write their essay get away with it. So the situation is, if I'm your marker, I know you used AI, you used AI, but there's not a lot we can do about it. This isn't the reason why I'm saying don't use AI to write your essay. It's not really about the ethics of cheating, or, that is part of it. I think, it's unethical to cheat, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I think the bigger point is that if you use AI to do all your assessments, you are just missing out. You're selling yourself short. So just give me a minute and let me try and convince you. If you're starting university in the UK or the US or whatever, chances are you are going to pay a huge amount of money for that degree, okay? When you come out, you're going to have a big debt. That's going to affect you for quite a large part of your life, okay? You want that money to be well spent, okay? That money should be an investment in your future, not just about getting a good job, but in the skills that you develop over those 3 years, okay? Really what you're paying for at university is to develop you as a person, to develop your skills. So if you come and do a philosophy degree, it's really not about learning, Plato said this and Marx said that and here's what a good argument is. It is a bit of that stuff, but really what I want a philosophy student or any student to have done over those 3 years is to develop as a person, as a thinker, confidence, ability to think freely and think clearly, express themselves in a clear and forceful and structured way, learning to engage in debates in a way that you can win an argument without it descending into a shouting match, have the confidence to present your ideas in front of people, all of that stuff. You need those skills to succeed in jobs, in the world, you know, as things are now, right? If you get AI to write your essays, you are not learning any of those skills. You are just selling yourself short, okay? Think of the money you pay to go to uni as, I'm paying this money and I'm going to get some skills back. If you then get AI to write all your essays, you don't get those skills back, so you don't get much for your money. Yeah, you might get a good mark, right? I think it's possible now to ask AI to write your essays and get a goodish mark, a 2-1, a low or a mid 2-1. So you'll get your degree, you'll get your job, you know, you can do all that if you get AI to write your essays. But you've missed out, you've sold yourself short, you haven't got the skills that really, I think that is what you are paying your money for. As a university teacher, what I want you to do is grow as a thinker, grow as an intellectual, right? So developing those skills is something I want to help you with. The reason we do lectures and essays and marking and grades and all that is just as it's kind of that mechanism to help you develop those skills. So again, if you're not developing those skills because you're letting AI do it all for you, then really you're not getting a lot for your money. It's a waste of your money. So I think that is the main reason why you shouldn't get AI to write your essays for you. Okay, so you might be thinking, isn't there a bit of a grey area? Because, you know, if I write a bit of my essay and then I put it into the AI and say, oh, could you just make this a bit better structured and kind of change the tone and maybe introduce a few more concepts, then does that count as my essay or the AI's essay? Here's what I'd say is the important thing. Okay, use AI for your research, okay? Use AI to help you understand the concepts, use consensus or whatever to help you find the relevant literature to read, okay? Get your ideas together, put a plan together, get the AI to help you improve your structure. Once you've got a structure for your essay, write the essay, okay? Then use the AI to improve the spelling, grammar, tone, check for any clunky sentences, check for any kind of inconsistencies or poorly structured bits. So really it's about you write and the AI helps you to improve your writing. And you know, something to add here. When the AI is helping you to improve your writing, don't just click, you know, improve this. Okay, yeah, done, upload. Look at what it's doing, okay? Is it taking out words? Is it adding in words? Is it moving things around? Maybe it's changing passive sentences to active sentences. Maybe it's replacing one huge long sentence with a bunch of short ones. Just find out what it's suggesting about your writing and try and take that on board so that next time you write, you try to make it a little bit more like that. That's the way that we improve our writing, by learning what's wrong about the way we do it and how we can do it better next time. Okay, then we're learning the skills, then we're getting value for money at university. Okay guys, so there you have my top tips for the tools that I think are most useful for succeeding, doing really well at university if you're starting in 2025. Go to your lectures, talk to your lecturers, use the AI to help you with your research, to tutor you, to improve your writing. Don't use AI to write your essays because you'll be selling yourself short. Get value for your tuition fees by developing skills. Have a really great time if you're starting university now. For me, it was the best time of my life. I hope it is for you. If you have any trouble with university and you would like a bit of one-to-one help, get in touch, have a look on my website. We can sort out some online tutoring. I would love to help you with that. Thanks to the guys at Consensus for sponsoring this video, and I do suggest you check out their tools. I found them really useful, really powerful for your academic research. If you got something out of this video, help me out, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'll try and engage with all of them. If you want to help me out even more, you can buy buy me a coffee over on Ko-Fi or become one of my monthly subscribers. Thanks to all the people who have done that so far. That really helps keeping this channel going. Thanks to all of you for watching this far. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you back on Attic Philosophy soon.